Yes, everybody. Rush to the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well, my friends. Here with an evening headlines for you. And there's two stories I want to talk about. One, which the main one's all about the midfielders and an article by Jacob Steinberg in the Guardian. And then I want to float a story I've read from Italy as well. So let's talk about the article that was in the Guardian this afternoon, wasn't it? Yes, 2:00. Now it centers around obviously Edson Alvarez going to Fenerbahce on loan with an option to buy, and then it went on to talk about who Potter's looking at, who West Ham are looking at. Let's put that properly. Who are West Ham looking at in terms of potentials? Now we know there's been interest and bids for Matheus Fernandes. We know there's also been interest and bids for Marc Caicedo from Barcelona. We know there's interest and bids for Andre Santos from Chelsea. I think maybe the Santos thing might move on a little bit quicker after we've played them tomorrow, I believe, but we'll wait and see. But Potter sees, as we know, Fernandes as his ideal number 8, but West Ham clearly aren't willing to meet Southampton's asking price of £50 million and are considering other options. And there are a lot of options they're considering. I mean, we've spoken about Romano Schmidt from Werder Bremen. We spoke about him. We've also spoken about this guy, not that guy, this guy, Andy Diouf, who we've spoken about pretty well for a long time, really. He's been on the peripherals of players we've been linked with. And it's been alleged by the article that West Ham are keeping eyes on him and tabs on him. It also has said that West Ham are extensively scouting in France, hence why Andy Diouf's coming up on the list. Also, they've been looking at 21-year-old midfielder. Let me find him. Dejari Silva or Dejari Silva. Not even Silva. Dejari Cisse. What a fucking idiot am I? Another Cisse we're looking at. Do you remember we had Eduardo Cisse? What a player he was. And apparently he's also a target for Inter Milan. Chances we aren't going to get him. There's also looking at the Eredivisie, as we know. And we've added, obviously, we've got Quintin Timber from Feyenoord, but also we're looking at the best named footballer. My brother, Simon, will fucking love this guy. Kenneth Taylor. And I know you're watching, Si. We've got it. And he looks a bit like Jack, mate, doesn't he? I think a little bit like Jack, mate. Kenneth Taylor. Have we ever had a Kenneth play for West Ham? But Ajax's Kenneth Taylor is another player to add to the list, as well as Feyenoord's Quintin Timber, as we know. But there's more, as Jimmy Cricket would once say. There's even more players we've been linked with, believe it or not. We've also been linked with the Torino Serbian international, Ivan Ilic. I have an Ilic, and I use my fingers to scratch it. He's another player we've been looking at, but there's more. We also apparently are keeping tabs on the Getafe midfielder, defender, striker. He's played in all the positions. Cristiano Łuczej. Quite an interesting player he is. He's 6'3". He's a complete beast of a man. He's a powerhouse. And he's actually been recently moved from midfield to centre forward. And he's actually being considered as a player who could not only do us a job in midfield, but could also act as an alternative to Nicholas Fullkrug and being backup for there as well. He could drop back in midfield and be that dominant. But if we need to move people, think of it as a more mobile Thomas Souček. Souček could obviously go up and play up front sometimes, but there's so many players we're being linked with. And for Jacob to come up with like literally 5, 6, 7 midfielders, it does give me a little bit of Mads Hermansen vibes. Are these names being pushed into the ethernet by Jacob via a senior source in order for Southampton to say, oh, go on, you can have 40 million? It seems a bit like that. And if anything, I think I prefer a lot of these more options to Matheus Fernandes, in all honesty. I quite like the idea of Christiantos Uche in the same way that I know Mohamedou Kante gave away the ball, for that goal for the under-21s on Friday. But I like having a physical presence in that midfield. This guy's a bit of a destroyer. I mean, again, if we look at Ivan Illich, Ivan Illich, he's a bit of an interesting character. He spent 3 years at Man City before then making his name at Hellas Verona and Torino. And it's according to Tutto Sports, it said despite not making a single appearance under Pep Guardiola, it was said that Illich bewitched the Man City boss during a loan spell at NAC Breda, a bit like Alexia Garcia as well. Illich's pathway was sort of blocked because obviously so many good players ahead of him. It does seem obviously Mateus Fernandes is the first choice, but we've got all these other players. I mean, as you said, Andy Diouf, a guy we've spoken about. I know Damien on here has been talking about Andy Diouf a lot. He's apparently under consideration. Even if he hasn't developed, I mean, when it was at Basel, he moved from Basel to Lens, and he's developed, maybe not to the level they want, that they think he can. I think there's a lot more he could bring to his game. So we'll see. It's like the dirty dozen, isn't it, in terms of the midfielders? But here's another interesting story I heard, and it was coming out of Italy. And it involves Nicholas Füllkrug, actually. Now, we know that Roma currently have Evan Ferguson on loan, and he has been playing really well. So much so that others around him are not necessarily getting the game time they want. And because of that, Artem Dubrovnik, is someone who is, that's Andy Diouf, is someone who we've been linked with, Everton have been linked with, Leeds have been linked with, a number of clubs have been linked with. Now, according to an article in 𝗘𝗩𝗘𝗡𝗜𝗡 TV, it claims that talks are taking place between West Ham and Roma over a swap deal between Artem and Fuller. The report states the idea is for an initial loan swap. This sounds so bollocks, but it's quite funny bollocks. A loan swap between the two clubs. A loan swap. Wow. But the exact terms have yet to be finalised. It is claimed that West Ham are now considering the proposal and that a decision could be made in the next few hours that would see the former Girona La Liga Golden Boot winner sign for West Ham for the season, with Fuller returning, or actually being reunited with Evan Ferguson at Roma. Very, very, a loan swap. I can't think of the last time there was a loan swap. I think potentially Serie A maybe, obviously being more slow paced, may suit Fuller a bit more than the English game. And apparently, because of Nicholas being involved in this deal, it puts West Ham ahead of Everton in the bidding war to sign Artem. Whether it's got legs, who knows? But I thought it was quite a fun story for once. I thought it was quite a fun story, and it obviously we've had interest in him before. We had interest in him before he went to Roma from La Liga, having been the top goal scorer in the league that year, and reportedly made a bid for him before Roma then took over and got the deal over the line. Now, he actually said it was his decision to join Roma, and he would have played in the Champions League at Girona, but there were sales of some important players provided with Levensis side, doubts about staying. They sold a lot of their players, and he thought, you know what, maybe it's time to move on. He says West Ham were also there, and I spoke to the coach. Also, some clubs from Saudi Arabia were interested, but wanted to continue in Europe. So there are 3 options: Atletico, West Ham, and Roma. Obviously, as you know, he picked Roma. Maybe June Lopetegui couldn't, promise him the dream or the project. But it does, it has been suggested that there could be a swap deal on the cards. Let's see. Sounds load of bollocks to me. Before you start, it sounds bollocks to me. All right. But I'm just reporting it because it's a little bit different. And it's, I think it's something to talk about. It's an option. It's an option. Anyway, my friends, I'll be back tomorrow. We start all the content ahead of the game against Chelsea. 8 o'clock kickoff. We've got opposition chat with Alex from West Ham, from Chelsea Fan TV. You'd have seen on Geo, on Hammer's chat. I think he was on today. We've got him on as well. Nice guy, Alex. A little bit more relaxed. Opposition chat, and also Player Pictionary returns for that opposition chat. We've got the Stat Attack. We should do a match day late lunch outside the stadium tomorrow ahead of the game. We've got starting 11 show. There'll be no watch along. Anton's on his holidays. But I will be doing a review show after the game. So if you are going to the game and you see me walking about the camera, looking a bit lonely and sad for myself, come over and say hello. Until next time, my friends, I'll see you tomorrow. Much love. Bye. Bye.